I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is Project Architect 2. Now today I'm going to be bringing out the big guns. Oh yes, I am going to be jumping into a quarry right off the start. So we've progressed this far and we have ourselves a decent amount of ender pearls that have started to build up from our ender pearl farm that we set up last episode. So if you missed that, be sure to check that out. And this thing is producing quite well. I did go ahead and upgrade it, by the way, and I ended up adding this and making it a total of 32 now in that chamber, which is all producing, which is very, very nice. And we can see that all of the CMC gain has now started to actually show. So even though it took a bit of investment to get to this point, oh, things are looking up from here. Now we're about to start expanding upon our EMC production even further by the introduction of a quarry into this system that we have up and running thus far. So what it's going to basically do is it's going to collect ores that includes diamonds and all kinds of other fun stuff. Oh man, and it should gather it, but it is going to be slow at the start. And this is something that we're going to end up building upon as we build our infrastructure. But I think for something that is going to be starting, it is going to be so nice to have a quarry up and running. Now, before I do that, let's actually fix this mob problem. And I can actually fix this mob problem with a mega torch. This thing right here is a bit expensive, but is going to be well worth it, as it's going to prevent hostile mobs from spawning in a radius of, I think, about 64 blocks around wherever we place this. I think a pretty decent place for this is underneath my floor mat, or my step right here in the middle of the base. Now I'm going to want to make this particular quarry. This is the builder from RFTools, and it's one of the cheapest methods of getting a quarry set up. So we can go ahead and create ourselves a casing. We need an ender pearl. All of that is looking mighty fine. We'll also get some of them in storage to make crafting a whole lot easier in the future. But there we go. Now we have the builder. Now that's the easy part. The hard part comes when you actually want to make the thing that allows the quarry to work, which is the shape card. Now there is a shape card that actually builds from the builder, but there's also a quarry card, a shaped quarry card, which allows you to break things with this builder. Now we definitely need this quarry card. So I'm going to go ahead, boop, and there we go. So now we have the quarry card. It did cost a diamond pickaxe. And it ended up using, it looks like, our used diamond pickaxe, which is honestly fine that it took that. But I went ahead and made another one. Now, this is all going to work, and a quarry with a regular shape card is great. It will mine everything that it can get its hands on, but I don't want it to actually do that. So what I can do is I can use a filter module, which is amazing, by the way, which allows us to specify specifically what blocks we want this builder to break. Now we're also going to want some way to power this, and for right now I'm still going to be utilizing these cyclic generators, as these do produce 80 RF per tick, which is going to be fine for running this thing at a slow speed. Of course, the more power you give it, the faster it will ultimately be able to run, and later on you're also able to infuse this builder and make it run even more efficiently. Now, quick thing to note for those of you who are looking for new ways of automating things, believe it or not, the builder can also actually collect and remove fluids. It can also place fluids as well with the shape card. So something to just kind of keep in the back of your mind. Now the builder also collects the items and places them into the inventory that's above them. And so we have a single inventory to play with there. And believe it or not, we actually get a basic to diamond tier upgrade directly from the quest. So that is very, very nice. So as soon as you make this, I technically set this up so that way you would have a large storage that also had a crafting grid in it. So that way you could put your stuff in and craft from there. So it's definitely an option that you can use with Sophisticated. But I have now a much larger barrel. So I can go ahead and place this down and immediately upgrade it. And so now we have a very large place to store our stuff. And this is going to be great because we're heading into the mines again. And we're going to use this area that is beneath Y level 0, which is where we're currently at. And we're going to mine this for the ores. Now, I want to show you the easiest way to go about doing this. First of all, we want to place down the builder and we want to get some power going to it. So I'm going to use these two generators beside it to start filling this up with some power. Now, we're worried about the filter upgrade here in a minute, but for right now, we'll put our storage directly on top. So now it has a place to send items. And we need to start by setting up our shape card. But if you right click this, you're going to notice there's not a huge amount of information here outside of we have a dim slot here and we have an offset slot. Now the dimensions are basically the dimensions in the X, Y, and Z value. So X, Y, and Z, and then our offset is based off the position of its starting point from the builder. So whenever we get this all set up, you're going to see that we can actually modify that. But essentially, whenever you set up your shape card, it's going to be from the perspective of the builder. So a good way to kind of keep that in mind. So if we go ahead and we keep it under a box that is hollow with a 5x5x5, and we put this inside here, it's not going to do anything on its own. We have to give it a redstone signal to activate, but we can display now the size of that cube. And you can see that this 5x5 is centered from the position of the builder itself. And then if I was to go in here and remove this and hit this question mark, I can go in here and I can change these settings. So let's set this to 0, 0 with a Y value to increase its upper range. And we'll set that to, for example, let's do 10. And that should put it in the air. So now when we see the support view, we notice that this is 10 blocks from the center point now inside or up in the air. So now you may be wondering, well, how do I actually set up some coordinates? Well, at the moment, we want this to essentially mine down like 55 blocks. So we need a box that's essentially a 55 tall box, and we can make it whatever width we want. Let's say we want to mine out a 16 by 16 area. Well, we can do that. We can go 16 blocks. Now this is going to be 16 in one side and 16 in another, just like you see this 5 by 5 here that we can of course display again. So that way we can see how this functions, right? So this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in total. And if I make this a 16 by 16, it should equal a 16 by 16 box. So now when I hit that support view, bam, this is our 16 by 16 box. And we can get a pretty good representation of how big this is from that support view. And yeah, it's not that big. I think for right now, I'll just stick with a 32 by 32 so we can get this in this particular area here. And now once this is in, we should be able to see that a lot better. And so this is how large of an area that quarry will be. Now the Y value is important. So the best way to describe this is because it's built from the position, the central position of our build here, we're going to want to make sure our offset on this, once we have the actual size set up, we're going to want to make sure that that is positioned in the appropriate way. Now, the best way for me to describe how to actually get this box exactly in the position we want underneath the quarry, the best way to do that is to actually divide the Y value or the size of the box that we're going to do, which is 55, I think I'm going to do. So we need to take that number and divide it by 2, and then that's what our negative offset needs to be. So for example, if I make this number 55, technically 55 doesn't divide super evenly, which is fine. We'll be able to tweak this a little bit. We'll do 27, which will be the value. 27.5 is technically what half of that is, but we'll make this a negative offset, which needs to go down. So with that negative offset saved, we should now be able to show the support view and notice that it is now here. So technically that 0.5, we need to go down one more block. So one more full block on that display. And if I go ahead and clear this out, and this has just been an issue I've always had for some reason with the newer versions of RFTools, whenever I open it from within the builder itself, it always changes the offsets. But we'll set this back to negative 28. And now with the negative 28 in place, whenever I view it, we'll see that this is now underneath in the exact position we want. And this works for any value that you set up. So if we did this directly above ground, you can quarry out in the entirety of our space that is below. Now, I don't want to mine, for example, every block or every item that exists in this area right here. That may be a good idea for some, but I don't want to do that. So this is where that filter module is going to come into play. And this is where we can add tags or just click items, for example, directly into this list. And what this will do is it'll create a whitelist. Now I want to do forge ore like this, forge ores, and I want to add the forge ores tag. Now what this should do is this should mean that this will mine everything that is a ore or has that ore tag associated to it. which is a great way to filter things out. So we put this inside the filter slot, and we can now see a pretty huge list of everything that it considers ores that has a tag in this pack. And then for the moment of truth, we just need to slap a lever on here and give this a signal. And whenever we do that, it is then going to start mining all of the things that have the ore tag on them. Of course, it's not going to drop the ore. We'd have to make a silk touch version of this quarry card for it to silk touch to collect the ore, but that's actually fine because I actually just want this. There's also a fortune card as well. Eventually, I would really love to have the silk touch version, so that way we can make an insane fortune pick, which should be able to generate way more of these resources. But this is just a temporary way of mining. You can also set this up and just have it running nonstop and just make it a lot bigger. But yeah, we are currently limited in my playthrough with power. Our power is just not there. Now, if you want to work on other things while this is running, you can actually open up the FTB chunks map right here, and we just need to claim the area that this is working in. So let's just say this is the area. I know this is a little bit bigger than the area, but if we hold down Shift, we can reselect, and this is going to force chunk load these areas. And so now this is chunk loaded, and this should continue running while we're off doing other operations. While that quarry is up and rolling, let's get some of these villagers that have been breeding along, and we can go ahead and start doing some trades with them. Now, I do want to automate some trades by the end of today for sure. So let's go ahead and start out with just getting some better tools. And I think getting some better enchantments is going to be the way to do this. So I'm going to place my lectern in here, and we can just place a villager, and immediately we have the ability to cycle the trades and locate a very specific enchant that we may want. For example, I would love to have, I think, fortune. Fortune would be very nice. Also some silk touch. There's even an excavate. That's wild from Cyclic. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we can get. There's also like enchants that allows our pick, for example, to break things and it immediately be turned into EMC value, which is awesome. Now, the way that I'm going to get emeralds is going to be through, well, the fletching table. It is honestly one of the easiest ways to get any type of emerald, just in vanilla as well. So with some sticks and a little bit of trading, these guys really love their sticks. We can just use the lowest amount of EMC, and we should be able to start trading these. And I believe it's like 32, right? So 128 EMC, essentially, we're exchanging for an emerald in this particular case. Now, this guy just ran out, right? But we can pull this guy out, and we can store him for later, and we can place a new one in. And they will reset their trades while they are actually in whatever this mode is, stasis mode, inventory mode. They will allow you to do that. And by the way I'm cycling through this so fast, it's not a mod or anything like that. I'm just simply holding down Shift, and then I do my first selection, and then I just hold Shift down, hit this button, and then hit spacebar to refill the sticks. So spacebar allows you to refill the prior trade. Now, I did just find a mending villager, which is going to be very nice, but I can't do the trade with them just yet, so I'll just buy the paper and get this guy locked in. And I believe I can name this guy Mending. And now we know that this is our mending villager, as odd as that is. And I can place this back in, and whenever we take him back out, notice it's still named Mending. Now, this guy right here is pretty good. Seven emeralds for a silk touch trade. I will take that. Now, this one right here is the alchemical collection, which is the one I was talking about earlier. Converts any mined item with an EMC value directly into EMC, which is kind of interesting that it does this. Just be careful. Don't break this with a pickaxe that you just put it on if you don't have a spare table laying around, or you'll be forced to craft a new one. Now, I did end up finding a fortune, boys, so that's going to be pretty nice that I now have this. But it is only fortune 2, which is 25 emeralds. I mean, not that great, but we can definitely combine it to equal fortune 3, and then, of course, with apotheosis, expand upon that as we go. Hopefully later on we'll end up finding a better one. Now, I ended up also getting a 2.0 version of Fortune Boy. This one actually has a Fortune 3 while I was re-rolling some more of these villagers. I'm still slowly rolling them. They do take a lot of time, but I do want to show another awesome mechanic that we can actually use to net us some enchantment books kind of cheesily. So let's go ahead and do this. So I would go ahead and make myself an enchanting table. And then we just need to do some regular enchanting. Now I just got the enchanted table set up, and I do want to make the experience crystal here. So I should have everything. Yes, I have everything for that. Experience crystal ready to go. This is going to be very helpful for making sure we efficiently use the experience that we have. And I do happen to have 50 levels of it right now. So I can actually just store all of my levels, and we can now only pull out what we need. For example, I want to pull out exactly 30 to do a level 30 enchant, and making sure I'm very efficient with this. So notice right here, we can enchant this with the max 1, and it gave us the alchemical collection. Yeah, that's okay. I'm probably going to want to build out my own tools, but I do want to show you this. So I'm going to take an anvil here, and we just need some books, and this makes for some very easy manipulation of enchantments. We'll also grab some obsidian. So this is a very cool mechanic. So we just need to place down some obsidian, and then we're going to toss the tool or armor that happens to be enchanted, and also toss some books in with it. And so by tossing these things here and then dropping an anvil on them, that should work. Let's also turn off our magnet. So yes, this and some books. Make sure you have enough books, by the way, to cover the entire thing. There we go. And then by dropping an anvil, it will split the enchantments off of the tool and not destroy the tool, which is so nice. So we can keep doing this, and it's a great way to sort of build up the amount of enchantment books that we have. And I definitely want things like efficiency, right? Because I do want efficiency. We did end up getting a miner's fever, I believe it is, or miner's favor. I don't remember which one it is, but we have one of those as well. But I think efficiency and that would be a good thing to have together. Now, unbreaking and mending are not a huge priority for me right now, but might be something that we can use later on. But we do have another tool that we can use for this. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and get these base enchants put on here. So we'll end up having this book. This should give us efficiency 5. It's going to be pretty expensive though, doing this. And then we can start to apply these onto our tool one at a time. And oh, wow. Oh, so miner's favor cannot actually be applied with efficiency. That's interesting. Well, good to know. I can use my efficiency 5 for something else later on. And we can also duplicate these books with create. There's actually a fun mechanic that we can do all of that with. But for right now, let's go ahead and actually make these tools not necessarily break. And we should be able to do this by making ourselves some covalence dust. So we need a diamond for the highest tier and also coal for the highest tier. And we can go ahead and put that in here. So now we have the covalence dust. All of this is EMC-able here. So definitely worth getting this put in. But we have that covalence dust. We have regular iron. That's a medium version. And we're going to use this to basically make most tools have auto repair functionality, which I'm going to love. So we need charcoal. There we go. Charcoal. This is the cheapest one, by the way. Perfect. And we are now ready to go. So repair talisman. Let's go ahead and we can make that. We just need some string. I'm so ready to have interface ability with our with our ProjectE setup. Oh, it's going to be so nice. But there we go. So now we have a repair talisman. This does have EMC, so we can put it in here in case we ever lose ours. And then we just need to equip it into a slot. For example, our belt slot is where it's supposed to go. So by having that in there, notice this is repairing itself, and also our tool is slowly repairing itself. And if you hit F3 and H, you can actually see those durability values going up, which is pretty darn cool. Now with our pickaxe enchanted and it having now repairability due to our charm, I do want to go mining for some ancient debris. And once we have at least one ancient debris, we don't have to worry about the grind of mining for it ever again. We just have to make sure we can keep up with the EMC demands. And I really want this so that way we can gain access to automatic villager traders. Now I should be able to jump down off of our main area, and I'm just going to start a mine, and I should be able to place a waystone once we have an area reached. Now notice miner's favor. I may split this off of there and just put efficiency on here, because miner's favor in the nether just doesn't work out so well. It is mining fast and will probably mine really fast, for example, on things like obsidian. But when it comes to this, it's not allowing for that insta break, which is one of the negative parts about this. Now, this is something that I definitely want to see. This is dimensional shard ore, and this is super worth grabbing. As much of this as you can, it's going to be super worth it later on. Now, I'm going to be mining for this just kind of chaotically around Y level 14, 15-ish. Just mining around as much as I can, of course, watching out for lava. But you could also use the RFTools builder to locate ancient debris. But in our case, yeah, we only need to find one. Notice how fast I was able to break that. This is typically a pretty slow thing. So I guess, like I said, this pick is great for some things. For example, like this to break an obsidian. But man, when it comes to actually breaking netherrack, that's as fast as I can break it. Completely ignoring the ability to insta-mine it. But yeah, like I was saying, you can definitely mine with that filter and filter out specifically this ancient debris and only mine up ancient debris from this dimension. So now we get to learn ancient debris. Now, it is expensive to pull this out for the 2 or so that we're going to need to get an auto trader up and running. But later on, we will be able to make more efficient use of this. For example, with a mechanical squeezer, we can, for one, increase, but also Mekanism is a guaranteed double. Not actually double, actually triple with Mekanism. So now with this smelted up, I can then use this scrap to make some netherite. And I am going to need 2 netherite ingots in order to make auto traders. So let's go ahead and get a couple of these up and we can play around with how they're actually used. Now we're also going to need to make our first major milestone in ProjectE when it comes to automating with EMC, and that is an energy condenser. This is going to allow us to convert items and allow us to extract sort of out of an interface without actually being an interface per se, which we will gain access to, by the way, later on. We have some way better ways of automating, but early on, this is going to be our best solution. So we just need to make a chest, and then we're going to need diamonds and obsidian. So yeah, the upfront cost here, a bit expensive, but it's going to be worth it in the long run. So we should now have ourselves an energy condenser. Oh boy, now's where things get kind of crazy. Now, I do have some random rewards that I probably want to claim because there's some really good stuff that we can get from this. For example, pipes. Oh man, this is a interesting bag. We just got ourselves some elite Mekanism pipes. Ooh. And then, oh, that unlocked, I think more, right? Nope, we have ProjectE. Definitely has some nice grab bags. We got some diamond from that. And we ended up getting, let's see, diamonds and cactus. Very interesting. So some very basic rewards for at least these tiers, but they do get up there in rarity. For example, this is a common grab bag, then we have a rare, and then we also have an epic one, which has the ability to give you some really good stuff. These quests can 100% randomize a playthrough. It is absolutely wild. Now, I think right next to our current little EMC farm, we should set up this EMC farm, which is going to be pretty darn cool. I am going to be using a very similar mechanic by utilizing barrels, but we're then going to instead use our energy condenser to generate these resources. So right here, I'm going to have a trader. Now in between is going to be a barrel. I'm just going to place not a limited barrel here, but a regular barrel. And then on the bottom here, this is where we're actually going to have a limited barrel. So the idea is we're going to have a villager in here that is doing a trade. And then we're going to have a villager down here that is going to be receiving emeralds from said trade with a buffer in between. And then this guy is going to then produce the materials that we're going to be looking for. Now, in between, this is going to have a regular hopper upgrade. So just a regular one is going to operate just as if this barrel was a hopper. It's going to pull from the top automatically and output to the bottom automatically. And then this one right here, I just need to, I think, shift right click with an empty hand. There we go. And I can go ahead and place that in. It's also going to pull the items automatically into it. Now for the energy condenser, it's going to be a little bit more complicated because we're not going to be pulling into a barrel per se. So if I can hop up here with our parkour skills, I should be able to place my energy condenser up here. And can I open it? Yes, so I can open it while it's up here. And I'm going to use a pipe for this just to make that very, very straightforward. And I have my wrench in my backpack, and then we're going to have it automatically pull out. Now, the way the energy condenser works, to be able to get sticks starting to flow, we put the item we want to duplicate essentially in the top left-hand corner, and then inside of here, it will generate the resources, and then it will also accept EMCable items. So by me putting that 1 diamond in here, that is then going to start producing sticks that will then start to feed into our input slots here. Oh, and we've got a ton of EMC waiting for us. Oh, I'm so ready. Tons of EMC. Back to the mines, place this down, and just get to sending all of these items into our transmutation table that were generated from underground. Just by using a little bit of power. And it looks like we've already learned some new things, which is super nice. And we've already now hit over 1 million EMC just from that one quarry. So this is going to be one of the most powerful early game ways of generating a bit of EMC. And my goodness, have we said EMC a lot today. Now I've done some testing and it seems like one of the best early villagers to probably use for this is going to be an oceanographer. And so the oceanographer uses an oceanography table. And so by placing this guy in here, you notice this is 2 emeralds for quite a bit of EMC. So I don't have emeralds in here, but let me go ahead and grab some emeralds and we can go ahead and start fully setting this up. Oh man, so we've got this guy locked in and now we can bring it over to our auto trader. So now with my Fletcher in here, sticks are starting to build up. We got emeralds going in here that should automatically get pulled out. And then we just need to get our oceanographer set up, place our oceanographer in here. The emeralds are going to start building up in here and we should be able to select the trade. And there's the trade already building up with a ton of sea lanterns. And these are worth quite a bit of EMC each. Wow. Yes, definitely worth all of the effort so far. And I think at this point, after all of this research and kind of testing, I think we're ready to dive into bigger mods such as Mekanism, Industrial Foregoing, and all of our magic mods. But with all of that, it's now going to be time for us to kind of expand our base, as we're going to need a lot more space for mini machines to come. And coming with ideas for that, I would love to hear from you guys down in the comments below. Is there any really cool ideas that you would love to see me do that is going to be related to tech? I know last time I played ProjectE 1, we actually blew up the entire part of our base and then we built from within that giant explosion crack that we made. It was pretty darn cool. Like I said, I don't know, let me know down in the comments below. And also if there's any other trader method that you know of, I would love to hear from you as well, because there's a lot of different trades and some of them just don't actually show up in JEI. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did enjoy, be sure to click that subscribe button and give this video a huge thumbs up. And well, with that being said, it's now time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that huge thanks is going to go out to Atomic Mage. Thank you so much, by the way, for becoming a Discord premium member and supporting me in one of the best ways possible, gaining access to supporter servers and all kinds of other cool perks. Thank you so very much. If you're interested in supporting in other ways, we also have YouTube members here, and there's also the Patreon, which you can check out, or you can do a follow over on Twitch. I would really appreciate that as well. And all of that all links through the Discord, which grants pretty much the same perks overall. I do appreciate you guys. I'll see you in the next one. And of course, as always, thanks for watching. Bye.